Okay, good. So where were we in the last session? What were we learning in the last session? CSS, right? We had begun CSS. We learned a little bit of CSS. Good. Now we have got a lot of holidays over the last few, should I say, weeks. So we have been going very slow with the web dev, meaning full stack development, FSD. So let's see how fast we can go today. I'll not try to rush. Even if I try, I'm not very good at that. So, but let's see what we can accomplish today, okay? And I plan on completing a good amount of CSS and Bootstrap and all today. Let's see, and as expected, we have Tufan exercise. We'll have to work on the Tufan exercise towards the end. Last 45 minutes will be on Tufan. First 45 minutes will be hands-on activities and whatever I do in class, right? Now, let's get in. Like always, I'm going to create a day 6 folder. Okay, we are going to work on day 6 today. Now, what is CSS again? Cascading style sheet. Why is it called a cascading style sheet? There's a cascading effect in terms of styles. So if there is a style that is added at the top and you add the style again at the bottom, the one at the bottom gets replaced, is what your friend is saying. I hope you read, I left a message, I hope you read a little bit about what are CSS and what is CSS and what we have learned and what are selectors. Now selectors, how many selectors are there generally? How many do you know? Do you remember? Class selector, he says. ID selector?
Tag selector.
Huh?
Tag selector.
Tag selector or element selector? Any other selector? Class, ID, element. Those are the three main selectors. Do we know about descendant selectors? Any other selectors do we know? No? We did not look at them? Alright, so class, ID and element selector. Can we group a few selectors? Can we group them together? Can we group 2 to 3 elements together and have one style for them? Yes. H1, P tag, scan, whatever, span, whatever you have, we can group them together and have one style, right? A class selector is represented how? When you are writing the code, CSS code, right? The rule set, how do you write the class selector? Dot, very good. If it's an ID, it is hash. Now, if it is element, it is the element name, clearly, right? So that is all in the style, how you set the rules. But when we use them, how do we use a class selector? For an H1 tag, I want to add a class selector. How do I use it? Class equals to, and I give whatever class I have declared. For an ID selector, ID equals to, right? For element selector, we don't have to mention any, right? Because when you say H1 itself, it's understood that it is for that H1 element, right? So all H1 elements will get that particular rule set, right? So we all understand. Now do we know what is internal styling? Yes. Do we all know what is inline? The last quadrant there. What is inline styling, please? Only the people at the last 3 rows answer. Do you know what is inline? Do we draw a line? What is inline? How do you style a tag inline? What does it mean? This quadrant at the end, the last 4 rows there, inline styling. What does it mean? Do you remember? Do you know how to apply style? Do we all know how to apply style? We all know. How do we apply style? Huh? Sorry? Internal, inline and external. Very good. Now what is inline there? Along with the element. In line with the element if you write. Very good. It is called inline. Internal is when you have it inside the HTML page. That is inline, internal. If you have the style as an external style sheet, as a .css file, it's called as external styling. Right? Now, let's see. Let me do a quick recap of what we have learned so that it stays with you a little longer. Right? So I'm just going to do a quick recap. You can do it along with me, or I'll today I plan on sharing the files as well in WhatsApp because the strength is a little low because of the Visarjan. So let's see. So I'm going to go show more options, open with code. Okay, that is my VS Code there. In day 6, I created a day 6 folder. So in day 6, I'm going to create one. Exclamation, right? Let me control plus. I hope you are all able to see it. By now I think this part everybody knows, right? So I have my h1 tag. I say hello world, right? Now I go here. Can you all look at the screen for a minute? I need you to look at the screen for a minute, please. So I have my head tag. I have a habit. It's considered a good habit to write a styling at the top of the page. So I have it here. So here I go and I put an h1, right? Selector. I do a control space. Nothing is coming up. In this h1, I'll just say background. For some reason, I'm not seeing the yes lit thing. So background color, I'll say red. Done. Control S. I'll say go live. We all know go live, right? Again, like I said, I need you to look at the screen. What happened? Everybody to the screen. Everybody. Any person can write a code. Even an interior designer who's into B-Arc, right? If he or she is asked to write a code, that guy or girl is going to go into ChatGPT or one of those search and they can look it up. I don't mean to demean, but what I'm saying is anybody can write anything. The code is all available. What is more important is to know what it is doing and how to troubleshoot. Troubleshooting is the most important part of anything, right? Because earlier it was how to create the code, how to make the code concise, how to make 5-line code into 1 line. That is still there. Priority to troubleshooting was there, but now it is much more because code is easily available. You can get a dump of code from anywhere. But making sure that integrates with your current code and making sure you know what error means what is much more important. So I strongly recommend that you troubleshoot, you know how to troubleshoot. So what do you think is happening here, please? Why is the browser not understanding my H1? Loud? Style tag is missing? Okay. Shall I first, how do you troubleshoot any HTML page or any web dev stuff? Where do you look at? Which tab? Do you look at bookmarks? Do you look at the code like that to troubleshoot? No. We look at the console. Okay. Shift Control I or right click inspect. Fave icon is missing. That ignore that please. That is part of my Chrome stuff. But live reload enabled and all is there. But there are no special errors per se. Console tab is a tab that shows errors please. So there are no errors. So what do you think is the problem? Like your friend said, or most of you here said, I deliberately skipped adding style tag so that you understand that the moment you put a style tag, browser understands that this particular thing needs to be treated as CSS. Otherwise the browser does not understand, and the understanding browser that we have, Chrome, displays the text as is there. See that? It doesn't understand something, it just gives it away to the front end, right? So that's how we see it. So remember, always understand what kind of error. So if there are 4 people looking at one, then you should be the one who is going to give the reason why that particular error has occurred, right? So now I say H1 got there, right? Now you also must have realized that when I started typing without the style tag, I did not get the IntelliSense did not work. Now the background color is showing, but earlier it did not. So that is another hint for you, VS Code hinting you, telling you that boss, you're doing something wrong. I'm not able to understand what you're doing. I can't hint you, I can't help you I can't suggest what tags, right? The moment I put the style tag now, it is giving me the options like that, and I'll pick a option, right? There. Remember, I also did not do a live show preview here. I did not use my live preview extension because I wanted to show it in the browser. Otherwise, I always do the live preview and show it to you right here, right? So here we are. So this is one we looked at. Now if I want all my H1, this is my element selector, right? So I will not type comments here, please. Let's not put too much time into that. Now I have my h2 and I say Ola, and here class equals to, and I'll just say my pink, and I'll have another para. Remember, class is of no use if you have to apply that style only to one element, right? You also need to know when to use what. You understand the saying, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So you don't want that. Just because we have element selector, class selector, ID selector, don't go ahead and use them. So here we have h2 class. So I have multiple elements that need to have the same text color, right? So that is when I'll make a class, and here I'll go and say my pink. Remember, don't forget the dot. I'll come here and say background color, but I said text color, right? So that would be just color. What color do I want? There is a deep pink or something, I'll just say that. There, done. So this is your class, that is your element, and we have, let me have one more h3, one more tag h3 and say deep blue text, right? And here I'm going to go very quickly. ID is my blue, and here I go. ID starts with a hash, so I say my blue, and then there, and then color, and say deep sky blue or something. Done, right? So we are done with class, ID, element, selectors. Now can I group a few things together? Yes, I can just put a h3, h4 or h1, h6 and I get done. That is a grouping of selectors, right? Next is what? We have class selectors and all these done. Now let me try to show you one more thing, which is we have h3, right? I have h1 background color blue violet. Now I'm going to go here, have again, look at it as one person wrote the styling, the other person, a new intern joined, and that new intern added one more h1. Now for this one, the background color that the new intern picked is burly wood. So which one will get picked again? The one. So proximity to your tag, also whatever is the second one, the cascading thing, right? Even if you have given background color as blue violet, if you declare it again and then set a new rule, this rule gets picked, please. So remember that, h1. Now tell me this, please, should I have, let's say here, you see here I have h3, ID is my blue, right? So this is there. What do you think? Can I have one more h3 here? Can I have both ID and element selector for my tags? Yes, right? As long as, see, like I said, WebDev is very understanding and a very nice way of, or very good thing. What do I mean by that? So look at my h3 tag. It has an ID of my blue. According to this, ID my blue is deep sky blue for color. Now I decided without touching that, because somebody else has written the code, without touching that, now I am going to give h3 has background color, right? So without touching that, I want to give a regular text color, right? And this one, let's say I say red. So guys, there is no, do it only this way or do it only that way kind of a thing. Hold on, please. Where is h3? ID is my blue. We have the blue text. So the ID took the precision over. But ID, my blue color, both I gave color, right? Let me give this as a background color to show that you can have. So it picked the ID. Remember, ID took the precision over the element selector there. But what I wanted to show was you can have the same thing declared over and over. You can have the same element over and over and have different styling for each of them. You don't have to override it all the time. Sometimes you can add it also so that you are not modifying what is already written. So you write below it and you get it. Done. So this is my regular selectors and all. Now let me go over and talk to you about couple of three more most important things that everybody in CSS must know. I've always told you from the beginning, can you all stop talking please? Okay. So I've always told you from the beginning that don't go too deep into CSS, right? Don't go too deep, don't try to understand too much, because there are other things that will help you do things better. So this is what we are learning, are very basic CSS that everybody must know, but don't go too deep in terms of learning all the background color, background image, and don't go too deep into that. Understand and leave it there, because we have much more important things to learn, right? Now let me go ahead and show you something. This is all recap, right? So let me close it. We all have seen the style and, right? Now, you know, if I put a style tag here, that is going to take over everything, right? That also you know. So I'm adding a style equals, and here deep blue is a color, right? So I'm going to say color, and I'll say aquamarine. You see that? So the inline style takes over, overrides everything that is there. So hold on, let me just do a control A, C, there, H1, H2, P, this I gave inline style, I gave ID, this is done, right? This is recap, so I don't want to share it with you. I think you all know it already. Now let me go ahead and create today's, right? day6.html. I'll give you 5 minutes after I'm done with this, but until then, see if you can understand while I'm doing it. Don't try to do it along with me, please. Just try to understand, right? So one of the very important concepts is here. What is it? I say H1 again, and I say Ola. How do I give a background color to this H1? Same old, same old. I go H1, right? And I say background color blue. We know all this, right? We know this, we're very good at it. Now where am I going with this? Hold on. Let me give you a div tag. In this, let me put a paragraph, right? And I say I am a para. I want this div to have a border. Everybody, listen carefully. There is one important question asked. They ask about the box model. Can you explain about the box model in CSS? Right? That is something that you all must know. As you might have guessed, box model is a model in which you get a box around your actual text, meaning it helps you in looking at your content as a box. How do you get the whole thing? The border, the spacing between the elements themselves, spacing inside, which is called as padding. How do you get that whole thing? That whole set of styles together are called as CSS box model. Let me show you what we mean by that. So this div, I want this div, right? Let me give it a class equal to my border. Okay? So here in the styling, look at it carefully. I say dot my border. Okay? Open that up. Everybody to the screen, please. You say border, that you have to give the thickness of the border, right? And you let's say border hyphen width, that is your 2 pixel. Then you have border hyphen color. I don't know, let's pick chocolate. Border hyphen style. Everybody, if you are ever asked to create a border for a element, this is how you do it. This is called the expanded form. Okay? So you have my border and I have like that. Because it's a para, inside a div, I have some extra space here. I can remove it if I wish to. I can make it a span also. Let me make it a span. You see, the moment I made it a span, the spacing reduced. Done? So it says I am a para and it has that dashed. So how do you get it again? Border width, border color, border style. If I want to increase the width, I'll increase the width, say 4. Right, instead of 2px, I'll say 4px, and you see this is the border. Now, is it the only way to have the border? Imagine if you had to write this border over and over. Do you have to write this expanded form? Not necessarily. Why? Let me show you. So I have, let me copy this over, or let me just comment it out, guys. Right, I'll just comment this out. And now I have the same my border. Now look at how I am going to write it. BOR, border, I'll say 4 pixel, I'll say dotted, you see that on the right, and I'll say deep pink. This is called the shortcut. Shortcut way of writing the border is this. This is the expanded form and this is the short. There are many more variants of it where you can have border only on one side, only on top and bottom. You can have many things like that. So let me, this is one, right? I am a para. Why don't I create multiple? So when I share it with you, my border 1, okay guys. So my border 2, 3, right? Now here I'll call this as my border 1. Again I'll give this code, display it on screen, you have nothing to worry, okay? That is my border 1. This is my border 2, right? Let me add one more as my border 3. Now there is not much spacing between I am a para, these two things, right? So how do I get spacing between two elements in HTML? Break. What tag? BR tag, right? So that is what you know. That is what I have taught you and that is what you know. So I'll put a what tag again, break or BR. Remember, I can do it before, after, I can do it at the end of the line or I can do it here. So I got a line break. But ideally, this is not how it is done. Why? Why am I saying this? So let me go to my border 1, 2, I'll have my border 3, okay? I want spacing between these two, okay? So this is, let me pick some color, blue. Done. Now I don't want it dashed, I want it double. There are different border styles, please, right? Now look at your screen carefully. What I'm going to show is something that you have to know by rote kind. You never give a line break or BR. BR tag is for amateurs. What we do is we give a margin, okay? How do you give a margin? You understand margin? Margin is between your current element and the next element. So look at how I'm going to do. I'm going to name this as my border BR DR and then margin. Okay? I'm going to copy that class over. Instead of naming it border 3, I'm going to name it as my border margin. Look at what I'm going to do now. Here, I'm just going to type margin and give it as 2 pixel. You see, it shrunk or 4 pixel. It is shrinking between on all sides, right? At the top it is a little less because of the dotted lines we are not able to see it clearly, but margin is what adds to the sides of the element, please. Remember, margin is between the element and the nearest element, right? Like it is the space between your chair and the person sitting next to you. That is the margin. Border is along your border. Margin is between your element and the next element, right? Now, let's go for the third one. We are looking at what? We are looking at border, margin and padding, right? What is this padding? My, BRDR, MAR, PDG. Okay? Control C. I'm just copying this over. Whoops. Guys, after this, I'll give you the time that I told you about, right? I don't want this single, I just want it to be dashed, let's say. Okay? So look at that. I'm a para. Right now, third and fourth are same because I didn't change any style as such. Now let me give it a padding of 2 pixels. Or shall I increase it to 4 or? You see that? The spacing around the text is more. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk for about 1 minute and give you the code. Guys, margin, border, padding are 3 important, very important things. Okay? If you can give me 1 minute without talking to your friends. Are we talking about the traffic jam today? Okay, so look at it as a house in a development. You all understand development? Places where there are villas or flats and all. So let us look at it as a development which has villas or independent houses. Again, careful. Only once I'll tell you and remember it so that you will not have any confusion going forward. Your parapet wall of one, let's say you are in an independent house. The parapet wall is what? What do you think? Border, padding, margin? Excellent. Border. The parapet wall, the compound wall is your border. Let's say your development has this restriction that between 2 independent houses you need to leave 1 foot all around the house. What would that be? Margin. Very good. 1 foot is your margin. Now they also have, even GHMC has a rule that the built area and the nearest wall, the compound wall or the parapet wall, they should be 3 or 4 feet distance, right? I'm not exactly sure. There has to be some distance between the built area and your parapet wall. What is that in our case? Padding. Super. You understood now? Border, margin, padding. Now this, all 3, border, margin, padding, I wrote it as one generic one, meaning I said border, but you can have border hyphen right, border hyphen top, border hyphen left. You see what I'm saying? Left, right, top, bottom. That is the terminology. Same case with padding, left, right, top, bottom. And there are multiple ways. I'll share a link. There are multiple ways of how you can write it. How you can give 3 different sets in single line and how it will accept it as top and bottom or left and right. All that I'll share a link. We can't go too deep into that now, but that is very important. Understand what I'm saying? When you look at somebody else's code, you'll see that they have border top or they have border, they have 2 pixel and then they have 3 different, like they have 2 pixel, 2 space, 3 space, 5. You are like, what is this 2 space, 3 space, 5? Or they might have 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5, meaning they want increasing thickness for the border all around. So that is possible using the shortcut way of writing borders. I don't want to go that deep now because that is the scope of that is not in the scope of the current EPS. That would be a scope of your college or the meaning the regular JNTU session, right? But please make a note of it and understand how do you declare borders. What is the shortcut for border? What is the shortcut for a margin? What is the shortcut for padding? If you want many situations, right, guys? You have an image on the left. There's a text on the right. You want the right side space more, top and bottom to be less, right? So for situations like that, when you start building, you will understand you need different ways to give different widths all around the object. Again, remember border, margin, padding, right? And it all depends on what you are using. If you are using an H1 tag, how it works. If you are using a para tag, how it works. Because para by itself gives a little space in the front, right? So experiment and check it out. So these are the different things that we have. One last thing that I want to give is radius, okay? And I'll stop. I keep saying that, but I don't. This time I will definitely, right? So here I won't say dash dot dotted. I'll just say what do I say? Border hyphen style, what do we have? Groove, hidden, inherit, inset. Do I have? Let's go with dotted only. Okay. Dotted, and here again the order doesn't matter. Border hyphen radius, I'll say 3 pixel, right? Let's see, we are not able to see it that clearly, are we? So let me move this border radius to I am a para. Where is this I am a para? Third one, double. Let's see if we can get it to this one. Border radius 3 pixel, let me add it as 5. You see that? You got the rounded borders for this one. Let me increase it to 8 pixel. You see that? The biscuit corners they call. So because I gave a border radius of 8 pixel. Understood? Now I'll give you this code. I'll show this in the browser.
Okay, good morning everyone. Any questions here? Actually, I have 2 questions for you. Question number 1. Now, whenever was adding para tag, h1 tag, why it is below one another? It should overlap at a same spot, right? Who is giving the positions? It should come below this. Later on, if I try to add image should not come below, it should come up. So what is that positioning? Who is controlling that position? Who is controlling the position of those elements which you see in the browser to be below one another? Pardon? No. Those are HTML tags, that property is to provide a structure. But we can, by CSS, we can alter the structure, correct? We can make that up, down, but by default, it is one above the other. Even the CSS is applied in that similar fashion. Why? Why is that? And what is the default positioning system in CSS? Default, whenever you don't write any position, what is the default positioning in CSS? Yes?
All right, everybody. So we understood what? Border, margin and padding. I told you that is an important thing in CSS. How many of you were able to get this far? How many of you were able to get it? Only 1, 2, 3? Not many? Do you need some time on this? Or do you want me to share the file as is? Shall I share the file in WhatsApp? Let me do that. I'll give you 2 minutes also and I'll share it in WhatsApp also. So the next thing that we are going to learn is very simple. And I'd like you all to know the different ways or different extensions that we can use to make our life easy. So we are what? EPS. I'll just move the file over into the. Now this doesn't mean you should not try, guys. In class, day 6.
Okay, I forgot one more thing here. What is the order of preference? Class, ID or selector? If I write a selector with background color red, if I write class, I define the class in the same selector with background color blue and ID with same background color yellow. So which is the preference? Very good. ID takes the highest score. So, but CSS, please don't use IDs. That is reserved for your JavaScript. The functionality to get JavaScript binding. Okay? So don't use IDs as much till you need it. Till you need to manipulate it using JavaScript code. Means single button, I want, if somebody presses it, I want it red color, somebody again presses it, I want that to be green color. So that kind of logic, if you are thinking, then you use IDs, whereas JavaScript can be used to manipulate. Okay, IDs have the highest priority.
All right. Thank you, sir. So here we go, everybody. I'm just copying that file over. Do a Control C, Control V in VS Code, right? And I'm going to rename it. I'll just say external.html, right? You know where I'm getting at with this, right? I am copying. Make sure or always get into a habit of collapsing things, guys. Whenever you want to copy something in any HTML, React, anywhere, always get into a habit of collapsing. So what I'm doing here now is I'm collapsing my style tag and moving it out. Okay, so I'll do a Control X. And what do I mean by moving it out? In my company, there is a team that works on styling. There's a team that creates a design. There's a team that works on styling. I don't want them to work on the same file all the time, at a time, concurrently. So what do? I move the styling outside. And usually, style files are always in a folder called CSS. Okay, so get into a habit, create a CSS folder in day 6. Inside that folder, create style.css. Okay, and then paste it there. Remember, this is not an HTML extension. So it does not understand the style tag. So you'll see that red wiggly line there. So you remove that. No style tag. In a CSS file, you must not have a style tag, right? Control S, style.css. Clear? So I go here and now I do a live preview. It shows without style. Look at the screen, please. Everybody focus. I created a .css file, moved whatever was inside the style tags into that, saved it in a folder called style or CSS, and then created a style.css. Now how do I include a style here? I say style, right? Anybody knows? Do I say style? Link, very good. So I'll say link and then pick that. So automatically when I type link, it suggests, are you referring to the link tag? I click on it and it says link rel equal to style sheet href. Remember when I told you about images in HTML, I told you that knowing the relative path and absolute path is one of the most important things for any software engineer, right? So here it comes again. So href, reference, how do I give it? Always control space in double quotes. Wherever you have to give a path, always control space. CSS, in CSS, never type the path. Amateurs type it. We are software engineers, we don't. So CSS and style.css. Rel is basically, if you see the relationship of this particular thing, what is it? It's a style sheet. So browser knows that it has to read this file and take the styles from it and apply. This, everyone, is a external style sheet. All right. So what did I do? I first went to my day6.html, created a copy of it, called it external.html. Whatever was inside the style tag, I copied it over. Okay, went and created a new CSS folder. Remember this CSS folder? Many a times, guys, I have seen so many students, what they do? They write everything correctly, they write everything well, but then the style sheet is in a different folder altogether, or is in the parent folder, or the path is not set. So to avoid all these, make sure you create your CSS folder carefully, please. It's a Microsoft has come a long way with UI. VS Code is just there, right? So VS Code's file structure on the left side, that Explorer, is not as great. So when you create a folder, be very sure to go and select the empty area, the blank area here, and click on that folder, create the folder, and make sure you click on that folder when you click on the plus sign here. Only then the style.css will be in this. How do you know it is inside it? When you collapse this CSS, you should not see the style.css. Again, I repeat, where you create the file is very important. Many a times, everything on the right side is correct, but on the left side, the folder structure is wrong. So when you go to external.html and do a control space in href, you do not see the CSS folder. That means you did not create it properly. Done? So here I am. I have my CSS. Now when I go do a live preview, I get everything. So this is my, so this is, let's say there is a whole department that is working on it. But sometimes as a fresher, I don't want to create the CSS. I want to quickly build my website. I want to download an existing CSS file and use it for my website, right? How do I use an existing CSS? How do I get it? Everybody, can you all focus for 1 minute? You go to that website and pick it. If I want to see, let's say kmit.in, that is a website, right? So I go to network tab, right? And then I see the site isn't loaded. You would do the same thing with CNN or Google, but they all have really bulky CSS files, right? What do I mean by that? They have a lot in them. So that's why. So this is taking forever to load. So maybe I'm connected to a slow network. Right, let's see. You see, sources. Hold on. It's taking time. Basically, you could go to sources and pick the file there, or you could go to any other website and then go to network tab, and on the left side you see CSS here too, or you can go to your sources and check there. On the right side you will see there are many, you see that? Where all it is going, you will see JS, CSS, homepage.cs. See that, guys? You can pick it from wherever you want and you can link it to your file here. You can either download it locally or add it. Understood? You can copy over any CSS. Let's say you visited some website and you saw a really beautiful site. You like their font style, you like their borders, you like the background image, everything. Not image per se, but let's say you want to check everything that is there in that website and you want to copy over a few. So what do? You add that here. So you can download it or have an external style sheet here. Now, my question to you, can I use only my style sheet or can I use any other style sheet? Can I use any other third-party style sheet? Yes, of course I can, right? Now, if I have used a third-party style sheet, but I want to keep a few styles that are my own, how do I arrange them? Let me repeat the question. I went to a website, I liked some styles in that website. I copied that style, or let's say the style sheet itself, and I got it locally and then put it in my, there in the link tag. But I'm very specific about one particular style. Let's say the font style that I use. My boss tells me that at our company, this is the font style that we use. Do not change this. I want this to be it. So here, from line 7 to 10, where do you think I should add my style and where do you think I should add the external style? Should I add my style at the top or at the bottom? Bottom, very good. So what is it? Again, like I said, waterfall, cascading, style sheet. So whatever is closer, whatever you want to have. Again, class ID, that precision is still there. But if you want your style to be accepted, that style should be as close to your element and it should be at the bottommost, right? You'll see why I'm talking about all this in a minute. Now we looked at external style sheet, right? Okay, do I have your attention? All right. So here, with the .com boom, with many things, right? With the whole open source thing, many big companies started creating their own beautiful styles, right? And they started sharing their styles for others to use, right? Their style sheets, their whole Twitter, Meta, Facebook Meta, everybody, they said this is a style that we are using. If you want to use them, feel free to use. What they did is they separated the style from their web page, right, like we did, and just gave the style sheets away to everybody to use. One of those is Bootstrap, right? One of those is Bootstrap. What is Bootstrap? It's a front end, just the UI library, please, CSS. It has CSS and JS together. Why is JavaScript needed for any web page? What does JavaScript add to a web page? CSS adds styling, JavaScript adds interactive. Very good. So JavaScript makes your website interactive. So you must be thinking CSS and all these UI libraries, they are just for appearance. Not necessarily, guys. Not only that, CSS along with JavaScript is a very, very strong combination. Meaning, based on the page, based on the device that you are launching your web page in, you want the page to shrink and display in one way, and you want the page to expand. Let's say I am having a town hall meeting. The regular website that is displayed in my laptop, you don't want it to stretch itself in a very wrong way. You want it to automatically adjust. So you need a combination to know the device where it is being launched, right? CSS does not have that kind of, at least in olden days, it did not have that kind of brains to understand what device is launching me. What device is this HTML page displayed in? So it took the help of JavaScript and said, boss, find out what device it is. If this is this device, then display this image this big. If it is this device, then shrink it to this much, or display the grid in this way. Make this as the first thing, second thing. So CSS along with JavaScript together became a very strong combination for UI and to make the page responsive, right? So one of the libraries or one of those is Bootstrap, one of my favorites and one of the very popular libraries, right? So what is Bootstrap? It's a combination of CSS and JavaScript. Very good. So JavaScript comes into picture only when there is some sort of interactive things or something needs to be changed, but CSS is plain style. So today, with the amount of time that we have, we'll look at how to make our page pretty, colorful, quickly using a library, which is Bootstrap, okay? So how do you get the Bootstrap library? There is a website, getbootstrap.com. I'm taking you to a third-party website called getbootstrap.com. This website here has free CSS and JS for us. This combination of the link tag there and the script tag together makes our page very, very smart, intelligent. In which way? Based on which device you are launching, the page will align itself, right? Based on how you want the page to look like, right? Let me give you an example, okay? Before we get to getbootstrap.com, okay? This is 90% it might fit in, but 10%, you know, add your imagination to it. Okay, let's say I'm an insurance company. Everybody, 1 minute. I'm an insurance company. I have a website for my company, right? What do I mean by insurance? Not the life insurance. Let's say the car insurance, right? I'm in one of the Western countries, our website. Now, when I'm on road, I have a flat tire. I don't know how to change it. Bad of me. So I want to get my car towed for whatever reason. So where do you think my website? I want to go to the insurance company's website. Okay. Okay. Let me rephrase. I am a customer. I have an insurance, a car insurance with a company. My car has a flat tire. I'm on a highway. I'm on the side. Now I want to get my car towed. I want to contact my insurance company, AAA or AA. They have their own ways. But anyway. So would I be opening my laptop and launching my company, launching the website? Where would I be opening that website? Phone. Okay, put that aside. I am home and I want to pay my premium for the year. Where would I launch the website?
Laptop.
Laptop. Most definitely, right? Premium paying, going to a bank and doing all that. If I'm already working, I'll open up in a laptop. So, when I open the same website, I want the premium to be displayed, pay premium to be displayed on the top right or somewhere. When I open the same website on the road, I would be really irritated if it shows me pay premium. What do I want to say? Need help with towing? That needs to be the priority. So with Bootstrap, and there are Tailwind, there are many other libraries, you can set that priority. You can say in mobile screens, display need help or seek help at the top. In laptops, display pay premium at the same place. You understand? That is the power of people. People put down web dev as a very simple thing, but it also needs you to imagine, expand your imagination and understand, make it simple. You know, in these days of where the attention span of, you know, your Gen Z or Alpha or whatever, you know, even us actually in some cases, it's so less. So you go to a website, you don't like what you see on the top, you're gone to another page, right? So you want to, so designing a page, making sure what is important appears on the top, making sure what is not important appears at the bottom, prioritizing, all that is also very important. So Bootstrap has many things like that where you can prioritize and say that this has to come first in mobile screen, this has to come first in regular web screen, right? So like that, and that is another thing. So let's go back, let me not go with more examples, we don't have that kind of time. So what I'm going to do now is they have been really nice, the Bootstrap folks, right? They have given a copy option. So I go to getbootstrap.com, you see that? And I copy that link there, and I'm going to create a fresh file, I mean a new file, fresh, what is fresh, right? So I make sure I'm in day 6, click it, and then here I'm going to say boot.html, pardon my language. So there we have, right? So there we are, our first file. I add it in the title, okay? I will go over why it has more than what we need. What is this integrity? Or you know what, I'll share a link to it. Anybody here understands cryptology or cryptography or SHA algorithms? Simple hashing algorithm, SHA-256, anybody? Okay, so I'll share a link with you, you'll understand what we are talking. It's just about maintaining the integrity of the document, meaning, okay, let me not. So that is SHA-384. So basically everybody, that website folks have said, this is the code for it. If this code is modified, then somebody has tweaked and changed that file that I'm trying to get. What file am I trying to get? I'm trying to get bootstrap min.css. Again I repeat, I have added a link. This is not my local CSS file. This is a CSS file at a different website called jsdeliver.net, right? 5.3.3 Bootstrap, that is a version, and it is in a CSS folder. It is min.css. I'll explain each one of these, but first let's look at how Bootstrap can change, right? So during the .com boom, everybody, cross origin is anonymous, we'll come to that as well. I'll explain, this whole thing will take about 5 to 10 minutes. Before that, so what these folks have done at Bootstrap is, Twitter is, what they have done is they said during the .com boom, and they said that most of the websites, okay, I have a question for you. Login button is usually in which color? Login button in any website is usually in which color? Make a guess. Huh? Blue? Your friend says blue. Is it in red anytime? No. What is red usually? Cancel. You're trying to not save, you want to go back, right? So all the positive things are either in blue or green. All the things that the user needs to be aware of, or you are trying to alert the user, or you are clearly saying this is danger boss, don't do this, is in red color, right? If you want to alert, they are in orange color. So what these folks have done is they have come up with contextual colors. They have come up with contextual colors, meaning based on the context, instead of saying BG or instead of saying, you know, background color red, cyan, or given RGB value, they said we'll give the names, semantic names to them so that you can easily work on them, right? So see what happens now. I'm going to go and create an H1, right? Hello. Which color am I? Right? Remember everybody, how do you apply Bootstrap? Using class. Remember, any CSS, we can use class, right? So what these folks have done is they have added classes. Control and click. Don't get scared at what you see now. I just clicked on that link. What is there at that link, everybody? Whatever we have done as CSS, right? The same thing. They have put them all together and minified it. What is minification? Removing all the spaces. So if they have compressed that file, minified it, there are different ways of minification. The simplest form is removing spaces. That's why you saw Bootstrap min.css, right? And they put them all together for us. And they said, don't worry boss, just use the appropriate class, right? And you'll get what you need, right? So what do I need here? Let me go back. Again, external CSS from Bootstrap, class equals to bg hyphen primary. Remember, do I have a style tag anywhere with bg hyphen primary? No. So all these classes are inside this file. So if I go here, where did that open? I click, follow this link, yes. Did it open up already? Yeah. Right? I am going to do a Control F on this. Again, this is just for your understanding, please. You see, bg hyphen primary, color. So this is for text hyphen bg hyphen primary, but there are 3 bg hyphen primaries. You see that there? So these guys have already written the code for us and they have given it to us saying, go ahead and use this. So you see bg hyphen primary, opacity, background color, a lot is written there. Okay. Now let me not confuse you too much and let's go back and see the fun stuff. So I have bg hyphen primary, that. Now bg hyphen warning, that. So they gave the context and gave it a color and asked us to use it for free. bg hyphen warning, let's see now the next, danger. So throughout Bootstrap, wherever we need a special color, any of these contextual colors, you just have to add the name, right? So this is background, so it is bg hyphen danger. What if I want, let me just go ahead and bg hyphen warning, there is a secondary. Guys, I have a PPT with this whole thing in it. Okay, so you don't have to worry about how do we know all this. We can also look at the documentation, I will show you where. So bg hyphen secondary, primary, right? So why don't I just create multiple copies of this? Primary, secondary, green is usually for success. See that? As simple as that. You just have to mention the name. Now, let me go ahead and show you the next step. What is it again? Let me say one more H2 here and say text color mi, right? Now here also I will use the same class equals to, but instead of bg I will say color. Color equal to warning. Hold on please. Text hyphen. So you need to know the class names well. Text hyphen warning, text hyphen primary, text hyphen info, right? So what you are seeing now is like a drop in the ocean of Bootstrap. This is just a beginning. So with this contextual colors, they expanded the whole concept so much that you can have buttons in this color, badges in this color. You remember that rounded corners and all that we learned, the box model and all, everything using this. Now you must be thinking, tomorrow I am going to join a company. Tomorrow, need not be tomorrow, right? Like 1 year from now interning. The folks might say, at our company we don't use Bootstrap, right? We use Tailwind. Are you going to panic? Are you going to say, I don't know Tailwind, we were only taught Bootstrap in college? Is that what your response is going to be? Guys, you know one library, it's easy, but you know it thoroughly, it's easy to understand the other library. So your answer should be, I know Bootstrap well, it is all based on classes, I think I should be fine understanding Tailwind, right? Don't look at it as, I will learn only one library. It's like object-oriented concepts. If somebody asks you OOPS concepts, Will you say I know oops only in C++? It's okay, right? You just say oops concepts, you know the concept as such. Which language you use to implement it is different, you understand, but it's not that, it's not rocket science, right? So similarly, know one language thoroughly. I have seen students who know a little bit of Bootstrap, little bit of Tailwind, don't do that. Understand one very well and understand the others a little, you know, okay, intermediate level, okay? So this is Bootstrap. Now let me go ahead and quickly create a few more for you, right? So how do you create buttons? Everyone, I'm talking about the days of .com boom, right? People needed to create things very quick and fast. So let me go ahead, create a button here. I'll call it submit. Again, how do we add Bootstrap? The styling of Bootstrap. First I say btn and I say btn hyphen primary. You see that? Let me add a couple of BR tags so you can see the button. Guys, you must be thinking, basically it adds a background color to the regular button. No, Bootstrap is not just about adding the contextual color. If you see, the corners are rounded, the font style is different. So it gives a very nice feel to the whole thing. It's not just about getting the background color. So I mentioned it's a button, right? Now let me show you how would a regular button look like. I'll just comment this link out. Okay, I did a control// and commented it out. There. Done? So button primary. Now I want, right, there are many things like that. So let me go ahead and add Control+C, couple more. Let's say this is danger and usually it's for cancel, right? And let's say it is some warning, sure, right? btn, remember please, this is a combination of two classes. One is the btn class and with a space, this is another class. None of you asked this question, but if you were to add multiple classes to one element, how would you do that? Space separated values. You just add a space and do that. Guys, anything that we are writing here, there is a software behind it, a code behind it that is reading it, right? And then performing a particular action. So if I had written a code, if I had asked you to write a code to to take that class equals to and perform something on each, what would you do? You would do a substring on space, split it on space, get btn. If there is a btn, do this. If there is a btn hyphen warning, then do this. You see what I am saying? So it's all software that is running behind the screens, right? So understand how it is all done. So spaces are adding more classes to the whole thing, right? You give a space and you add another class. You can give one more space and give one more class. So how do you add multiple? Don't panic when somebody says, I want a class and I want this and I want that. Space separated, okay? Now this is button. At getbootstrap.com, you should see documents, docs at the top, guys. You know how you have that button that is inbox, right? So here I'm going to say info, or let's say primary. Inside this, I'm going to say inbox, okay? And inside this, I want a badge, right? What does that mean? What is a badge? I'll show you what it means real quick. I opened a span. Here I'll say there are some new emails for you, span, and then here again to this span. Remember, inside the button I'm adding a span, class, badge, and I want to say badge hyphen. The spellings matter a lot. Span class badge. You see that? It's very simple. In inbox, I got a new inside that. So I said badge. Badge gives that rounded. So what they did is they put some commonly used things together and added some styles. So like this I can do many things, I will show later, we will look at it in the next class, but for now this is what it is, right. You have a button btn space btn primary, and where can I see the documentation? It is in the doc section. So this is the button. You must be thinking, what is this span, right? It is a very trivial, simple one and very powerful one too. You all know Play-Doh? Anybody here knows Play-Doh, or anybody does not know Play-Doh? D-O-U-G-H? Play. Span is like that. You can make it whatever you want it to be, right? It has nothing by itself. You want that span to behave like a badge, it will do that. You want that span to behave like something else, whatever class you give to it, it will take that and become that. So whenever you are not sure about anything, plain text but you want it to appear in a different way or something like that, or an image, you want something else around the image, put that inside the span tag, right. So span class equals to that. Now what I am going to do, I am going to freeze the screen. Now how many of you have tried this?
Yeah, for trying, most of you will not have internet. So you will not be able to download those Bootstrap files and all. So what we are going to do is we are going to give you an access, an offline access, so that you can download those files. Instead of writing the link from the URL, use, as SIREESHA suggested to create a folder called a CSS, drop that bootstrap.css file. We are going to share it to you and give the location. Okay, number one. Number two, we are going to start the activity in a moment. So I would request SIREESHA to just talk about the activity, what they are supposed to do.
Sure, sir.
And third, so going forward, I would like to pause for 5 minutes so that you can also get in sync with the current session. So today there was a little bit of recap. We had a recap which took away the time. So most probably going forward, we are going to allocate a slot 5 minutes after the lecture is done. So you will have time to practice, so time to write the code. And please write the code. Don't expect teacher to share the code through WhatsApp or anything. Unless you write, you will know the basis, right? The UI, the funder, meanwhile I'm waiting for that. Is it ready? Meanwhile, I'm just waiting for the team to just upload those two files. So I have a lot of questions. I don't know why you are not asking questions. You should ask questions because these are the basic funda.
Once you connect to local.
Show here.
Please download those two files, the CSS and the JavaScript Bootstrap based files. Open your browser, type this URL 10.11.57.156.
Please connect to KMIT Audi. I think that is given, right? You all know how to connect. Once you are connected, go to that and you will have one zip file. Download that zip file. This zip file is what is needed for executing today's exercise, CSS and JS. So wherever you are going to work on today's exercise, please go there and extract the folder, files from it, files and folders. So there will be a CSS folder, a JS folder. Along with that, create a new HTML file. That will be today's exercise. Everybody clear? The exercise should be in a HTML file which is a sibling of these two folders that you have just extracted. Get that? So this is the setup that you need for today's exercise. How many of you are done downloading? Okay. How many of you have created one folder for today's exercise? Separate folder for today's exercise. Yes. Now you have downloaded, extract, CSS and JS, copy those two folders and paste them inside today's exercise. Today's exercise folder. In that folder, now create index.html or however you want to create. Remember, whatever you give, that should be the path. If it is indexed, you don't have to mention the path in the exercise, in too fun. Understood? Now what is today's exercise? Let me explain. You all are expected.
You can connect to your laptop.
I'll connect my laptop and show. Bootstrap has many components, pre-built components that we can use, right? So let me show you So here is my bootstrap.zip. So I'm going to go to day 6 and here. So I went to exercise. When I extracted, right, it created a bootstrap folder. Inside bootstrap folder there is CSS and JS folder, right. So let me go back to day 6, create a proper folder again. I am going to say exercise day 6, right. Now whatever folders are there inside CSS and JS, I am going to copy them over and I am going to put them in this folder, fresh new folder. Everybody understood? A fresh folder which has CSS and JS. This is how your project is going to look like too, your project folder. In the root you will have one CSS folder and one JS folder. If you double click and see, we have bootstrap min.css and we have bootstrap bundle.main.js. The two files that I said that are important or that are what comprise of the whole bootstrap thing, right. Now here I am going to open up VS Code, open with code, and here I am going to create a index.js, HTML. Now it's going to get a little interesting. Let's see. Okay, creating my template, and here you will notice that even the H1 tags are a little different, right. Say hello, right. I go check on the right, there is a say hello. Now how do I add bootstrap to this? When I showed you earlier, I added a link. I will explain what that link is in the next session. But now because we can't connect to internet, I brought the files, or we help you bring the files locally to your computer. So I am going to use the link tag, right. And here, like I told you always, whenever you are using a file, do a control space there, CSS bootstrap min.cs. Now the exercise expects you to create a nav bar. I repeat, it expects you to create a nav bar. So that's a little, a little more than what we have learnt in class. Now I want to add the script. So I'll say script src, and here I'm going to say JS and bootstrap. Okay. Now I want you all to do this once this is done. Make sure you close the script tag. Everybody, without bootstrap, look at how the H1 looks like, and with bootstrap, much more softer and neater. Okay. You get this working, and I'll tweak the exercise a little bit because we have very less time, right. I'll tweak the exercise a little bit and get back. Meanwhile, work on this please.